We're diving into SummerSlam predictions. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? Who's going to make a special run in? Come on in and check it out. SummerSlam 2024 is right around the corner this Saturday as I record this. So what better time than to run down my predictions for what we might see at SummerSlam this year. I'm a little bit jealous of this SummerSlam card, by the way. I went to SummerSlam last year in Detroit, and I had a blast, but as far as a wrestling card, it was by far one of the worst ones that I've seen. Cody versus Brock was phenomenal, but other than that, the whole fucking card was meh. Ricochet versus Logan, fucking Roman and Jey Uso, and then Jimmy returns. It's like, But it's fun to be there still. The spectacle, right? This year's card looks much better, though there are a few questionable matches still. I do see some people complaining. Looks like perhaps SummerSlam is falling short of a complete sellout. People on Twitter are saying that it's because of the shitty match card. I actually think this is a pretty solid match card. Couple matches aside, we'll talk about that here. Maybe just one that I'm looking at. Let's dive on in. But before we dive into it, why don't I throw a quick plug out? If you could please hit that subscribe button down below. It would help a brother out greatly. And also, if you want to keep the conversation going, give me your predictions in the comments below. But yeah, let's go ahead and move forward here. Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. This match, I gotta tell you, I mean, I'm excited to see it, but I don't know if I'm hyped for it. They've been telling a good little story. Sami Zayn is obviously the best underdog, the best fighting from underneath, the best selling babyface in the entire history of wrestling. I was shocked that he even won the title from Gunther, so I would not put it past him to pull out a win here. But this might be a good spot to just go ahead and give the ball to Braun Breaker and see what he's got to offer as a champion. This could go either way. If I was booking it, I would delay Braun Breaker's title win just a little bit more and maybe build him up, have him be frustrated and take out his frustrations on people. He'll get there. He'll get there quicker than most people would in their careers. He's going to have a fine career with lots of titles. Maybe now is not the time, but it could be the very next pay-per-view, whatever they got next down the road. This feud can continue, even though this is his second chance here. He probably will take it, but I'm going to predict Sami Zayn squeaks it out here. But again, no surprise if Braun takes it. Bayley versus Nia Jax. This movie can go suck a fuck. How exactly does one suck a fuck? I don't know, but this match can go suck a fuck because Nia Jax, right? I mean, Bayley's fine. We all love Bayley. Hey, we want some Bayley. But Nia, why is she? Is it just because her cousin's The Rock? Is that really the only reason she's getting this big push? She sucks. She's not a draw. She's not entertaining. No one literally no one cares. She hurts people. She's annoying. Literally nobody wants to see Nia Jax versus Bayley, but that's what we're getting. I'd love to see Bayley just beat Nia Jax and then move on from her. I don't know what Bayley has in front of her quite yet, but I know Nia Jax is not the direction that I want to see things go. Everybody's favorite United States champion, Logan Paul, defends his long reign, his long legacy as the United States champion, puts it on the line as he goes one-on-one with L.A. Knight. Yeah. I got to tell you, LA Knight has lost a lot of steam since this time last year. I was at SummerSlam last year, and when you're walking out into the thing, like at the end of the show, the crowd empties and stuff. everybody just like, LA Knight, yeah. You just hear people just shout that out just randomly. I don't know that he has that kind of hype. I think he's been significantly cooled off, unfortunately. I think the wins were with him, but there was too much going on. There was Roman still with the whole bloodline angle. Cody hadn't won the title yet. The Rock was on his way back. Drew, Punk, Seth, like there was just too much going on at the top of the card. Still is, quite frankly. But too much going on at the top of the card to really allow LA Knight that push. And so he's been downgraded because of it. Hopefully he can fight back. He's an older gentleman, so he doesn't have youth on his side, so he doesn't have time on his side to have just this huge run. He's got to make it and then have his run, and that's probably going to be it for him. With all that said, Logan Paul's been on a hell of a tear too, winning all of the just count all of the matches that Logan Paul's won. Now look, I know he gets a lot of criticism because he's only had like 3 defenses in the 200 some days that he's been champion, but you gotta look at what Logan Paul has done with that belt. He's a promotional mastermind. He's a social media influencer, a huge star, built up on YouTube with a following that doesn't even know what wrestling is. What's wrestling? That's that John Cena stuff? And he was able to put that belt front and center. He had it on the table in front of him with the Prime bottles for every episode of his podcast he did. He's sat through multiple interviews with celebrities. He had it in a photo op and in the interview with Donald Trump. That's insane. He had it with the Super Bowl champion. I don't remember that guy's name. I'm not a football guy. I don't know, sports ball. Who cares? But there was a guy with a Super Bowl ring where they were going to trade the belt for the Super Bowl ring. He went and did a video about him trying to pawn it at the pawn shop. Like, when he goes and does interviews with other people. He's had it when he's gone and stood by his brother's side at whatever fight games and shit like that. Like when he's doing media with his brother. Like Logan Paul has done his job with this title. That's why he was given the title. It's not to have a bajillion matches. Not everybody needs to be a workhorse. You know, it's so weird. Everybody's like, oh, AEW don't get over because all they do is have tons of matches and banger matches and stuff. Then they turn around and they criticize, oh, Logan Paul sucks because he never has matches. Well, figure it out. What do you want out of life, right? He's not a wrestler. I mean, he is a wrestler, but he's a celebrity. He's the best integrated celebrity into the actual roster that I've ever seen. You know, we've seen great one-offs like Bad Bunny and shit like that, but Logan Paul, he's an actual wrestler. He was just on Mr. Beast's Mr. Beast had and that's a whole separate thing. We won't get into that here. Mr. Beast just had a thing where he had 50 or 100 YouTubers all locked in this big box to win money and stuff. Logan Paul was one of them. And in that very video, there were people, and a lot of shit hits the editing floor in Mr. Beast videos, but they kept in, I dig what you're doing in wrestling, man. That's really cool. Like the exposure, and I'll finish sucking Logan's dick off here in a second. He's about to come. Don't worry about it. But the exposure that he has gotten for WWE, I mean, he has represented it to the fullest. This is not a guy who's ashamed to be doing that fake, phony wrestling bullshit when he's out doing the fight media or doing press or talking to normal celebrities on his podcasts. He's representing, and that is beautiful, and I think we should all appreciate that because that's what Logan was given the belt for. Don't dog on the dude because he hasn't defended the belt in so long. Yes, he should have had more defenses, I would agree, but don't hate the guy because he's not out defending it. Appreciate what he's doing for WWE right now, spreading awareness in areas that, frankly, WWE is just not going to reach on their own. All that said, very long-winded. I won't spend as much time on all of these. It's time for Logan Paul to drop the belt. Enough is enough already. And like I said, it's time to shit or get off the pot with LA Knight. Another loss. I don't think LA Knight can handle another loss. I think he needs that United States title, and he needs to take it as far as he can possibly take it. Give him a solid run until it's just not working anymore and it's time to move on. But allow him every opportunity to be the best United States champion as possible. But yeah, man, Logan, it's time to give it up, Logan. But he's done well for the WWE representing. Gunther challenging Damian Priest for the world's heavyweight title. This one I do not expect to main event the show. This might actually be one of the opening. You know how they like to put one of them right at the beginning of the show. I don't know that I would start with that one. But it's certainly going to probably be earlier in the show. And God, look, Damian Priest has done well. He's impressed me. He's stepped up better than I thought he could. But he's not quite there yet. You know what he reminds me of? This reminds me of CM Punk winning the world title with the Straight Edge Society when he had Luke Gallows and was this Serena Deeb and shit at his side. He was the world champion, but he was never the main event. He was never actually treated. He was a glorified Intercontinental champion, right? That's what Damian Priest is right now. And certainly he has not risen to the level of, like, say, a Cody Rhodes or a Roman Reigns or even a Drew or Punk for that matter. I think it has elevated him. I think he's not a complete and total bomb or failure, in my opinion. Damian has impressed me. I feel like he's stepped up to the next level, to another level. He's not at the top level yet. And here's another guy like LA Knight. He's older. And time is not on his side to make the big money and be the big main event star. But I feel like he earned a big step up. What he needs to do now is be very careful when he loses to Gunther, because that's exactly what's going to happen here. It is Gunther's time to dominate. In fact, you give Gunther the world title and do the same thing you did with him in the Intercontinental title. Gunther wins, LOL, destroy everybody. Banger after banger after banger until he's undeniable. Gunther is the guy that you want, the next guy you want. Both of these guys are at a point where they're upper mid card, in my opinion. They've both elevated themselves out of mid card purgatory. That's what Damian Priest was able to do with this world title win, and I think Gunther was able to do that with his Intercontinental title run. Both of them pulled themselves up to upper mid card. And I would consider that to be, can visit the main event sometimes, but they're not the main event, the perennial main event like a lot of other guys are. One of these two need to be elevated up from that. You always want to look at, ideally, if they could both come up, that would be fucking beautiful. But in like I said, I hope Damian doesn't lose anything from losing the title. But if you're gonna pick between the two, who you want to put the gas tank behind and just fucking give the old push ski to, it's got to be Gunther, man. Gunther is on another level. He's believable. He's a beast. He's an animal, and he's different than. Right? Eric Bischoff, he always loves to say you got to do different than. He's not a sports entertainer. He's a down and dirty old school wrestler. The Matt fucking, what is he? The Ring General. I don't know how you fucking, whatever, but he's the fucking master, right? He's got that stoic look. He's kind of like what they were hoping to do. Remember when they gave that random weird push to God, I can't even remember I'm blanking on his name. Vladimir Kozlov. Remember when he got like a random win over Triple H, who was like a huge main eventer at the time? So it was kind of like that push ski to try to get him to the next level. It didn't work. Gunther to the moon with Gunther. Liv Morgan defends the women's world heavyweight. Can you call it the heavyweight championship? Or you just call it the women's world championship? I mean, Rhea might be considered a heavyweight female, but I mean, come on. There's very few heavyweight females we did talk about. Never mind. We're not going to go back to Nia Jax. So let's keep it on topic. They dropped the ball on this one by not making this a ladder match for the custody of Dominic. What the fuck were they thinking? It's been 19 years since Dominic was put up on the top of a ladder, his custody, his ownership between his father, Rey Mysterio, and Eddie Guerrero at the time. Dominic was just a wee lad. 19 years later, we are in a very similar situation. Are we not? Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan fighting over Dominic, fighting for the hand of Dominic, the affection of Dominic. And, you know, there is this thing kind of floating out there. Will Dominic turn on Rhea to side with Liv? Will Rhea turn on Dominic? I don't know that makes sense. But what is some kind of shady shenanigans are going to happen here? Another Eric Bischoff reference. You can tell I spend way too much time listening to Eric Bischoff talk. But how do you not put Dominic up on a ladder? Literally hang him from the ladder if you have to, but custody of Dominic? A world title match where winner gets the championship plus custody of Dominic Mysterio. I know it's kind of an inside joke. It's a wink and a nod. It's a little bit cheesy. It doesn't scream believability and professionalism necessarily. I get all that. But you're probably never going to have this opportunity again. It writes itself. It's the same event, SummerSlam. I mean, it's wrestling booking malpractice to not put Dominic Mysterio's custody up on the top of a ladder. But that's just me. I don't know that Rhea Ripley's winning it back right here. I mean, yeah, she probably would have never lost it had she not got hurt. So, you know, the easy logic is like, okay, well, we had to divert, so Liv got to have it for a little while, but now that Mommy's back, let's give it back to Mommy and continue doing what we were doing with her. I say not so fast. Same thing I said earlier with Braun Breaker. Maybe she doesn't need to win it right away. She's a babyface still, right? No? Let her fight from underneath because she is so dominant, so strong. So, you know, like, it's hard to believe her as the underdog. So give her more of a fight from underneath to try to, she's really got to work to regain that championship. I'm not even saying take it all the way to WrestleMania. Maybe she picks it up at SummerSlam. Maybe she picks it up at Royal Rumble. Maybe she picks it up on fucking WWE Superstars. I don't know. Is that still a show? Do people still watch that? I don't think it's time to give it back to Rhea. I think Liv has gotten herself pretty hot. She's always been hot, but you know what I'm saying. Her push has been hot. She's really gotten herself into the main event picture for the women's division. She's earned it. And yeah, I'm not a huge fan of these love storylines and these love triangle angles and these vixens using their sexuality to win over, you know, the dumb boy or whatever. I'm not a huge fan of all that, but I gotta tell you, man, and I know Liv has a lot of her haters and people are sick of her and ready to move on from her. I get that, but that's the internet. There's haters of everything. I love Liv right now. I think she's doing the best work of her career, and I think what I would do and I'd like to see and I think will happen is Dominic actually does turn and side with Liv Morgan, because I think Rhea is going to go off in her own direction and maybe the Judgment Day breaks up. I don't know. Maybe this causes the Judgment Day to break up, but it's time to do something different with Dom. I don't know, you know, and I'm not necessarily one to say, oh, faction's been around too long. We need to break it up now. I like that factions go on and on and on. That's a nice little touch under the Triple H regime, because Vince would put a team together, whether it was a tag team or a faction, man, he was just itching to fucking just to break up the faction already, you know, like the whole, they were put together just to break up and do the angle, you know, that's the angle. Oh, what if we build a faction and they break up and they fight? Sometimes you just build a faction to have a faction, you know, maybe eventually down the road it makes sense for the guys to move on, go their separate ways. But other times, like New Japan does it. New Japan has It's weird the way they do that. Like, they do a lot of tag team matches and stuff, but a lot of guys are single stars that are just aligned with other people. You know, you build alliances and stuff. Los Ingobernables and stuff like that, you know. All of that long-winded to say I expect to see Liv Morgan win this one, and I expect Dirty Dom to be the deciding factor in this one. So if Dirty Dom is going to be the deciding factor that's going to interview and screw somebody over, you can't have that twice on one show, can you? But we have CM Punk finally challenging Drew McIntyre. Let's all just cross our fingers and do a quick little thoughts and prayers for CM Punk's weak and feeble, fragile body. Let's hope that he does not come out of SummerSlam injured again. I worry about Punk's health. I really, really do. But I love me some CM Punk. So that's why I want him to stick around and continue to have great matches and great angles. I think this is going to be a banger. Seth Rollins, the special guest referee, because I predict Dom's going to get involved. I actually think Seth is not going to get involved. I think he's going to do the opposite of get involved. I think he's just going to step aside and let these guys go. And they're going to have just a fucking flat out Donnybrook, you know, a street fight. They're going to go ham. They're going to be outside the ring. Rollins ain't going to count. He's there to count 3 or call a fucking tap out or a submission, and that's it. That's it. I don't think he's going to worry about weapons or countouts or rope breaks. I think he's going to be impartial. I think he's just going to be there to watch these two destroy themselves and let them destroy themselves. I think it would be a misstep to play the respect my authority. You know, I said break the rope on 2, and like at the end, you know, I'm going to fuck one of the 2 of you somehow. Because then you're just waiting, you know, nobody cares about the match anymore. It just becomes what's Seth Rollins going to do. Make it clear right off the bat. Have Rollins step back, stand in the corner, and just let them do nothing. Let the spotlight not be on Rollins. Even though he was forced into this match, and I don't know that I would have even made that decision. Make it clear right off the bat that Rollins, don't even think about him. Enjoy this match between these two. And the whole reason that he would be put in there is so that you can have these guys have a street fight, basically, or a no-holds-barred match, or whatever you want to call it, without actually having a street fight in title, you know? Without having to make it a gimmick match right off the bat, let's make it a de facto gimmick match by having a referee that just doesn't give a shit. It's just going to let you guys pound the shit out of each other till one of you can't move anymore. That's what I'd like to see. That's what I expect to see. But who's going to win it? Oh, boy. Ugh. Fuck, man. I mean, look, with Punk coming back from injury, and he's only had 1 televised match in WWE, 3 total since he's been back, 2 with Dominic on house shows, 1 at the Royal Rumble, obviously. I think if Punk doesn't get hurt here, you got to give Punk a little momentum coming out of this. I say you give CM Punk the win, and then you can spin it off into a triple threat with these 3, because I don't think the feud's going to be over between Punk and Drew, and I don't know that now is the time to work Seth or switch, right? Because you don't want to just drop Drew after and switch to Seth versus Punk, because there's more meat on the bone with Punk and Drew. You want to eat off that feud that you've been building up for a half a year. You don't want to build it up for 1 match and then be done with it. This should go through. Are they doing a Hell in a Cell this year in like October? You know, it should really build up and then can transition off to Seth, or you can work a 3-way in there at some point. God, I think Punk's got to get the victory, but you let Drew get it back on the back end somehow. Maybe not here. Maybe here. Maybe he rages out and fucking beats the snot out of Punk. Maybe beats the snot out of Seth. But again, we don't want to transition to a Seth versus one of these guys right away. There's more meat on the bone. We want to eat off the story we've been telling for a half a year. Now we just want to do one match. You give it to Punk, let Drew come back and get a final victory in like a Hell in a Cell or something like that. That's where I see this go. But I could be completely wrong. Seth could be the deciding factor. He could stick his nose in everybody's business and make a spectacle of himself. I just don't want to see that. And finally, what I'm presuming will be the main event. I think it should be Punk and Drew. That's my main event. That's what I'm tuning in to see. But I think Solo and Cody are going on last. And I think it's because Roman Reigns is going to return. That's what I think. That's what I think. How does that play out? I don't know exactly. I certainly don't expect Solo to beat Cody Rhodes and win the WWE Championship. Could it happen? Sure. Remember when like Umaga beat John Cena for the WWE title back in the day? Didn't he have a WWE title? I know he had an Intercontinental title run, but I could have swore Umaga even got a quick little like 1 week, 1 month, couple week, from one pay-per-view to the next, got a quick little flip win over Cena. I might be wrong about that, though. Admonish me in the comments below and let me know how fucking retarded I am if I got that wrong. But either way, I mean, they could certainly do something like that. Solo gets a quick, shady, cheaty win, and then Cody gets it back at the next thing. But I don't know that they're going to go that route, because that's not the story that you're telling. This is not Cody versus the Bloodline still. The story that they're telling, is the Bloodline Civil War. That's the story that we're telling. Cody's just the pawn right now in that. He's just a piece playing the part right now to help build up Solo, to give the idea that Solo is a main event caliber talent, that he could win a world title. It's just not going to happen here. I can see Cody winning the match clean, and then the Bloodline comes out to interfere. There's Tala Tonga, the other Hikuleo. He signed with WWE, and I think they're going to call him Tala Tonga because that's what they trademarked. So, add another Tonga. He might come out and just, it's going to be beat down on Cody Rhodes because Solo lost. And then, who comes to make the save, ladies and gentlemen? Ladies and fucking gentlemen, who comes to make the save? A babyface save for Cody Rhodes against the new Bloodline. Well, Roman Reigns, of course. Roman Reigns makes his return at SummerSlam, just as Jimmy did in the main event last year. Roman's going to come out. Maybe the Usos, maybe we get Roman's team right away, because still, can Roman beat up the entire Bloodline? Maybe not. Maybe he needs help. Maybe he needs Jay to come out and help. And then maybe that's where Jimmy makes his pop return. And then, God, you know what? If Sammy drops the title to Braun, that would free Sammy up to rejoin the Bloodline. That would be fucking tits. Because we're doing Bloodline versus Bloodline Civil War Games match at Survivor Series, are we not? That makes the most sense. That's what the build is going for. Solo Sikoa's new Bloodline team versus the OG Bloodline. That's what I want to see. That's where we're at with this. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I do think that's how it's going to turn out, but could be wrong on any of these. Let me know your thoughts down in those comments below. I would love to see where you think things are going to land here. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Peace, love, and pizza. I am your boy, Seth Grimes, and we'll catch you in the next video.